We're on the self-help bookshelf. So hi everybody.
Awesome.
Live on your YouTube, Rory, our regular self-help bookshelf. So we're just waiting for your Facebook, I gather.
There we go. Go live. It's going live. Yes. I'm just gonna turn the volume down so it doesn't play that. Yeah, we're there. We're there. We're there. Awesome.
Fantastic.
It's go. It's go. We're here. And I'm so pleased to be joined by Sue Bayley and Kay Reeve. And if you're in our group, then you will already hopefully know us. And if you're on LinkedIn and my YouTube, then it's maybe a surprise that we're even here. And why are you even watching us? Who knows? Let's find out. Um, we've had a book launch recently on Sunday, a double book launch, and it was just a pleasure and how it all fell in line. Um, it's a great example of what I call neurocreative leadership, which was to lead and guide and but let go in equal measures to see how to be spontaneous and in fluid planning to be spontaneous but also um trusting, like so trusting that things can't kind of spoil it in some ways. Um, and that's a test of courage to it's not just easy to suddenly do. So there's been a lot of years of effort and plight and creativity processes and how to show up as neurodiverse or creative beings, especially in life, and also as leaders to help others, and also get our words out onto pages and share that too. And would it, before we're going to review the book launch because it was such magic, and I'd just like to say welcome Sue and welcome Kay. And Sue, would you like to introduce yourself as well, briefly about what's been occurring for you with this whole experience?
Okay, so my name's Sue Bayley. I'm the elder and founder of Autism Family Dynamics. And my main thrust is to inspire, educate, and walk a few steps ahead of my clients who are likely to be neurodiverse or neurocurious. And the tools that I like to use the most are my voice, my paintbrush, and my pen. So it makes sense that I write books, and it makes sense that I paint and put pictures in them, and it makes sense that I talk about them, all of which I'm doing right now. So when I started downloading what I call my shadow stuff, I was too ashamed to read it, and I stuck it in a big orange box and took it to a psychotherapist before I could even analyze it. But as I allowed myself to express myself, the light came through and all sorts of characters emerged. So Misunderstood No More, Unleashed by Love, Untangled by Love even, is really some of those characters written about and painted. Sometimes the painting comes first and sometimes the writing. So I'll read one example here and then I'll talk about Sunday. Nurturing Nora. She fears what isn't being said. She shapeshifts through unconditional regard. She witnesses the other human being. She befriends the exiled. She knows the silence and the screams of the misunderstood and mismanaged. She travelled the worlds, internal and global, to find fragments of her essence. She integrates her findings and becomes richer as a consequence. She found her voice in France and Georgia, and her somatic sense in the UK and USA, and her creativity in Hawaii. And her ancestors in the Highlands and Islands of Scotland, but she still gets stuck. But she knows now that this is only temporary. She knows that life is an education in itself, beyond the school books. She takes up the challenge and she encourages others to pick up their missing parts and to integrate too. She listens with her soul and acts as a doula for what is in gestation. She holds the vision until it can be held by the other. And this person is nurturing Nora.
Let's see that a bit more closely. Amazing. Lovely.
So, my perceptions on Sunday. Well, having tried to launch a book previously and staying hidden, how I thought I was going to launch a book when I wasn't prepared to tell anybody about it is a whole other ball game. But that was how I took it. And I told my, 20 or 30 trusted people that I know, and that's where it stopped. But this time, with the help of Kay and the self-help bookshelf and trusty Rory by my side, I've fully engaged in the correlation and collaboration of Sunday, which is something I've never done in my life. And I'm saying quite openly that I'm willing to write more and paint more if it means I do more like that, because it was a hoot and the three of us can really pull something spectacular off. There was music, there was lullabies, there was discussion, there was questions, there was spontaneity, there was even a singing shark. So if you weren't there, you'll just have to get the replay and grab a brew of your choice and watch it.
Brilliant. Absolutely right, Sue. That was tremendous. And that definitely comes down to the collaboration of both of you. And yeah, the singing shark definitely provided more entertainment than was planned, didn't he?
Yeah. That was I don't even know how to describe it. How would you describe what you got from this, Kay?
Well, what I get from it, apart from the absolute entertainment, was just the sheer power of seeing the two of you come together to create such an event and what is possible. But what I also got from it is from the years of helping my son with neurodiversity and suicidal depression, and hearing so many stories about other parents with suicidal children. And I've had an email about something like this today as well, after the news article yesterday, that I hear these kind of stories over and over, where parents are constantly overwhelmed by the education system and the mental health system and the GP system and getting diagnosis. All they know is they need help, but they don't know what help. And they feel like there is no hope for the future for their child, whether it is ADHD, whether it is autistic spectrum disorder or ADHD, whether it is something else entirely, or whether they prefer not to get a diagnosis, but they still see the struggles of their children. There is this complete sense of no hope for parents of those children of that age up to sort of late teens, early 20s. And so to see and hear and understand what you two have both been through individually and completely uniquely, but individually, and to see how you've turned life around and shown what is actually possible, for me was tremendous to see the two of you not only doing that, but doing that together to show the power of collaboration for a community where we were very often seen as solo and independent and non-sociable. The neurodivergent world is very often seen as quite unsociable at times, especially around autism. And it's just absolutely proving that there is hope for a perfectly normal, well, let's say normal life. I don't mean neurotypical life, but a normal life where you live life on your terms. You find your own happiness, you find your purpose, and you get out there and you live that purpose out. And to me, I don't know what else we can want more for a normal life than that. And so well done to both of you. It is really, truly inspiring.
Thanks for sharing, Kay. That's amazing. Really appreciate what you've helped with all of this too, because of
Jiggy.
Figures back.
yeah, and without the sort of without that feedback, we probably would still be just trying to do things on our own or not have books out as well. So thank you, Kay, for your dedicated what do you call
Yeah,
it,
no,
step
no.
by step approach to
Yeah.
keeping in flow.
Tram lines.
Yeah. Um, yay. And
You can do what you like, but you do it within this space.
But that actually also goes to show where sometimes collaboration across neurodiversities can be powerful as well. Because with me having the ADHD, I've got different skills and different capabilities. Whereas with the ASD, both of you have got different skills and different capabilities. And rather than them being at odds with each other or whatever, they very often, when we can put those skills together, they become more powerful as a whole. And this is proof what we've achieved with the self-help bookshelf in the last year, because a lot of your mental fitness work has certainly supported me. I've learned a tremendous amount more about neurodiversity from Sue this year, which has then kind of fed back through all of us, plus through my son. So the communication between all of us is still bringing more power about for this community. And I'm really looking forward to seeing where else this can go. And it's still inspiring me with more books to write yet.
excellent, excellent, amazing. And it sparked a little. I wanted to read this bit out of my book here that is all about. It's right at the start of the book says, "Welcome to neurodiversity. You are all very welcome. This is where everyone is included. To be typical in some ways and non-typical in others. Normal is a concept that doesn't directly serve anyone in particular or understand and tend to an individual's needs. Normal is simply a reference point to differentiate between many unique situations and how things may change going forwards." I would have fitted a little bit of an excerpt in there too if I'd had more space, but it would be like that, normal is important to reference what is different. And it's part of our nervous system to go, I'm safe, like feeling safe is normal or wants to be normal, safe enough to then embrace differences or the unknown being different. So it's not that neurotypical information is not valid and or important or not as important or as different as neurodiverse information. And just because we link these things to our personality or say I'm more neurodiverse or I'm more like this or I'm feeling normal now, but I might feel different later, or whatever. It's recognizing that daytime is normal and nighttime is not normal, so that I can prepare for nighttime, or I can enjoy what is normal. So that I think is something that I would have loved to have fitted in there, but I hope that it sort of expresses that. So welcome to a new world. It's a neurodiverse world of indiscrimination, where we focus on what works naturally for everyone individually as well as generally, where you can easily see and use conscientious feedback without shame, where everyone has the chance to understand their own past misconceptions and pivot and grow accordingly. And there's a little earth with the hands all joining around together too, because neurodiversity is about understanding all of our differences and the ways we react and respond and learn in our different ways.
That's amazing. And I love what you're saying about normal, but normal, like you said, is different for everybody. And, you know, normal for a librarian is not normal for a parachute jumper or something, you know. So it's finding the normal for the self, and it's coming away from this whole concept of societal norms and recognizing that societal norm works better when everybody finds their own norm. But that's different than going, oh, well, that's just who I am and that's just what I do, and making excuses about the behavior you have without making the effort to work on personal development. And this is the thing where I found personal development was key for helping my son, definitely key for helping me. I've worked on personal development for over 30 years. And I can certainly see where it's been a tremendous benefit for both of you. And the work you've put in definitely shows. So I like that about those pivotal moments. And it's not just, oh, here's where I am, I'm neurodivergent, I've got all these problems, here's how to become normal. It's not. It's about, this is what I am, but who I am can grow. And I certainly, for me, noticed along the way that there is, my approach to it was, well, there's mental health and there's emotional health. So for me, I like to help people understand the difference, that mental health is, if you are neurodivergent, you've got autism, you've got ADHD, you know, neurological conditions that are not likely to go away. No matter how many tablets you take, they're still there. That's mental health. But emotional health is the happy, the sad, the angry, the depressed, and the change of emotions, the personal development. And like you said, lots of little pivotal moments and growth along the way. We can all work on our emotional health and still become a better version of ourselves without having to change accepting that we're not going to change the neurodiversity. And this is what I mean about knowing how far both of you have come and seeing how much acceptance work you've both done on yourself and continued to take on those pivotal moments. Even in the last few months working on these books, I can see how you take that on board every step of the way, both of you. And that is what we want to inspire everybody to realize is possible. And that absolutely captures that in that quote, in that poem. So well done, Rory.
Amazing. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Kay. Great feedback and wonderful reflections. One last thing I'll say about the launch that I loved about it, like you just shared, was the compassion that came into it, and how it all just kind of did lead into, and everyone kind of brought in their own sense of when they shared, when the speakers were there, when they, even if it was like a song or this, it was about heart, it was about connection, it was about compassion or self-care, self-love, and that was the key piece. And then and actually one of my quotes, I think it's in here as well, and or became a post leading up to the that it got explored, was that compassion is a key to creativity. Because if we're feeling, obviously there's struggle that can also almost force us to be creative in the moment, which is the old, one of the old paradigms. And I'm not saying it's not important to feel under pressure to get something done, so we get it actually done and not do it at all. So pressure is not good or bad, and like pleasure is not necessarily good or bad, because we can get stuck on too much pleasure as well. So the balance between pressure and pleasure. But coming back to the reason why I'm talking about that is this sense of that when an old paradigm that I noticed, and I believe was the adversity of feeling like misunderstood, like from where Suze has been describing, is feeling misunderstood, and where I felt misunderstood in school, and from the misdiagnosed or misaligned understandings of neurodivergence. At that point, that all leads to feeling like it's all quite adverse to actually be in normal society and normal situations, and so that causes to almost, for me to retract. I retracted away to be creative and feel safe doing some creative stuff in the background, rather than being creative and then having the courage to share it. Didn't know how to do that. So So that adversity actually shapes up the natural creativity process. It's just there all the time. I like to say there's four different types of creativity, one being um, disruptive, which is where we get into patterns that causes more health issues, to aimless, which is like I'll just create whatever and not have an aim, and then functional, which is the to have a purpose for a short of lived amount of time, like make a cup of tea. I know how to do that, get into flow and make a cup of tea. Or visionary creativity is like something bigger that takes courage, it feels different, and actually do it and make it happen. Um, and each one of those, I mean, even it comes back around to pressure again, but from a place of doing, in terms of um, it's almost self-created pressure to get it done to make sure that something changes in reality. But yeah, so the old paradigm of it all has to be adverse and pressure to be creative, like struggling artist approach to that, or the compassion based approach to creativity, which is where when we actually sit and meditate and relax and feel safe to dream up something new, then it's flipping it and going, well, now I've dreamt it. Now, if it's that important, I have to make it happen, which does take collaboration. It does take solitary work. It does take commitment and strength or building up those muscles to get past the comfort zone and get it out there. So it kind of comes back around full circle, but it doesn't all have to be completely overwhelm based creativity or just from a space of pleasure and not pushing to get it out there as a project. And it takes collaboration to do that. So I'm saying a lot there, but that's why it's so I think all this stuff is so important to bear in mind. So that's the one key takeaway from the book launch that I got was the compassion piece. And encourage everyone. We're going to put the link in the bottom of this video to watch the actual launch and grab the Kindle deals whilst it's on limited time to get hold of the books at the 99 and 199 deals. Would anyone else like to share anything we've got from that before we finish off?
I just want to leave a message of hope, really, that we're not broken. We are just human beings living a human life and learning as we go. Problem is if you stop learning, because then you start judging.
That's a really good point, Sue. And that judgment is a massive part of life for people who are neurodivergent. And whether that's diagnosed or undiagnosed. And I certainly recognise that. And I know Rory and I've had chats about this on the podcast before, where I spent my life feeling judged until I realised that I had to take all that judgment and turn that into those lessons, into that self-reflection. And realize that all those judgments, I could either fight them or recognize there was something about me I needed to learn about.
Or that they weren't true.
Sorry?
Or that they weren't true. They were just a projection.
Some of them were, but a lot of them were actually very true, but not in the way they were said. And it was how I could take those judgments and turn them into an understanding. And that was what led me to finally realizing about having ADHD. So we can either spend our whole life fighting the judgments or stop and make a list of them, write them down, and look at what the overall message is behind there in the mirror. Like, they're saying this, but why are they saying this? Like, when I'd got people across 50 years, 3 different counties and over 20 different jobs, all making the same judgments at me, I started to realize it had to be me, not them, because it matched across so many non-correlated places that there had to be something in me. Like, oh, you talk too much. Because that was the one I got told a lot, you talk too much. And so when I realized that being ADHD, yes, I was prone to talking a lot more. I found a way to make that more proactive rather than learning to shut up, because that doesn't serve the ADHD brain. I learned to make it more constructive rather than just talking about anything for the sake of it. To actually become a public speaker, to have a voice about neurodiversity, about suicidal depression, to do something to help other people with the power I'd got and turn that judgment into something positive. So this is where a lot of us can learn from those judgments. But you are right, when we're not learning about ourselves and we compare ourselves with others and we judge them, we're almost doing the same thing. And a judgment is somebody recognizing something and putting words to something that they don't understand. And when I looked at it that way, it changed how I viewed judgment back at me. But anyway, I can share a link to that later if you like, but that was a completely different episode we did on the podcast quite a few months back now. But there is a gift in everything, as Rory says. And for me, that was where I found my gift, was in listening to those judgments.
I love that, Kay, because that's what it's I'm very passionate about the word judgment, and for it exists. It will not stop to being existing because it's there to discern. But the very first initial moment of that is to discern whether I'm safe or a danger of whatever is in front of me or I'm experiencing. But the judgment piece is never actually useful to actually fixate on it. So, but it will be there, and so it comes back to my one of my third pillars of neurocreative leadership, uh, pillars of neurocreative leadership, which is part of plasticity power, which is about neurocreativity and how whatever we keep focusing on grows and bonds stick. And one of those is everything is feedback. One of the discernments within that, everything is feedback, and that doesn't mean that it's bad or good. It's just that you've chosen, Kay, to pick what you found was useful in order to translate yourself into adapting to your environments more well. So it's not about fighting against normal. It's like, where do you want to be normal compared to where you weren't? And that's growth again. So well done. I love that.
Thank you. But like you said, it's not much point fighting it. And so if talking was my normal, it was how to grow in that space, not change to a different space that didn't serve me. And that could be for many things. I mean, I'd listed over 50 different judgments. So it wasn't just that one, there was lots. And some of them didn't serve me. So it's how can I work on shifting and pivoting them because they weren't serving me. So it's two ways of looking at those judgments. What can I learn and grow from? What can I learn and change from? But, you know, we all have to do that work on ourselves, because no other bugger in this world is going to do it for us. So if we don't do it ourselves, nobody else will. But when you do want to work on yourself, there are plenty of people out there willing to help, including the three of us here. You know, you don't, and that's the biggest message, is you don't have to do it alone. We're here. Yay.
Here's to creating joy from that. And speaking of joy, that's one of my value cards, but that just pulled that randomly in response to what Kay was saying. And let's create joy. And that's really what I got from the launch. So we'll put the link to the launch in the comments. And thank you so much for watching. If you're still here, yeah.
I can still get the shark laughing.
We'll be in touch. We'll everything is feedback. What do you get from the launch? What do you get from this? Anything that you get insight from and you repeat, it creates the algorithms, share with someone else. Let's just keep conversations going on what's actually truly important here. And when you have that thought, or when you notice someone else say that, repeat it back, declare it, share it, like it, sharing, caring, and declaring, and that's it.
And congratulations to both of you, honestly, and especially being your second book launch, Rory. and for yours, Sue, because what a shift. Like you say, there was small changes, and this is where we say small is significant as well. It doesn't have to be big changes to be significant. Little changes can be significant. And yeah, well done. You've put so much effort in, both of you, and looking forward to seeing where this goes.